The all-new Mazda MX-5 here today at Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars. I'm Thomas and I'm presenting you today the fourth generation of this car. The first generation NA, then came MB, NC, and now it's called ND. And well, not quite often cars get smaller. In this case, it is the case actually, and it is supposed to be even sportier than before. Why is this car so unique? Well, there aren't hardly any convertibles anymore on the market that are not in the premium segment. So this car actually promises a lot of fun for not so much money, and exactly that's we're going to investigate today with the exterior, interior, and of course with the driving review here in sunny Spain near Barcelona. There have been a lot of discussions about this new design because the Mazda MX-5 has always been a kind of round car and now it has getting sharper. You see especially the new headlights, very slim, twinkling eyes kind of, and well, what do you think about it? I'm sure everyone has to get used to it. I think it's not that dramatic as you've seen from the first photos or something like that, so I think it's more pleasing than from the photos we've seen. But I do agree, I have to get used to that. I would maybe prefer the Mazda MX-2 to be still that kind of round, iconic car. But well, sometimes in the history of a car, there has to be also some dramatic changes to step it up to the future. But we'll see how that plays out. Really looking already for your comments about that one. The new side profile, well, I thought about let's go back to the roots, make the car a little bit shorter, pure roadster style, 3 meters 91. That is really short, over 10 centimeters shorter than the previous version. And as I said before, this is very seldom. Usually manufacturers grow their car step by step and then make another smaller model below that. Here it's getting shorter now, and that promises maybe even more fun. And it was also important for the weight balance, really 50-50 weight balance from both axles, engine in the front, but rear-wheel drive. And that's another important aspect. There's hardly any other car that is so small and still has a rear-wheel drive. Of course, very important also for the Sporty Ride. The Mazda MX-5 is, by the way, the most sold Roadster worldwide, over 1 million times so far. And we'll see if this will continue with this fourth generation. Let's find out when we continue with the details. You see this Mazda MX-5 here in the sports line trim level, and with 17-inch alloys. Standard is 16-inch. With the higher trim levels you get the bigger alloys, and I think it's playing quite well along these silver alloys with the soul red color. So the color is called soul red, and I think you can agree to it. It really has a great metallic effect when you look at it in detail, especially when the sun is directly going on that one now. And a small sidekick how the car actually looks in another color. This is called ceramic metallic in the UK, and in Germany it's called Mondstein Weiß. It would be moonstone white. Well, maybe they don't call it ceramic in Germany because it would remind us more of toilets. While we got serial LED headlights in the front, we also got completely new taillights and a completely new tail here. And it's very interesting that they took the classic way of taking the round headlights and then they fade out to the side, and reminds me a little bit of the Jaguar F-Type, I think. So these two cars really have some resemblance, especially also because they're both kind of small or short roadsters. So I also want to hear your opinion about the rear, because this one was also very polarizing in the first photos or preview videos we've seen. And well, I think the taillight is actually, and just the whole stuff here in the back, I think it's a little bit more pleasing to me than the front at the first sight. Of course, you also have to get used to it, so this is really more a revolution, because most of the time we often talk about some facelift or new model cars. We say, oh, it's rather an evolution than revolution, but this one here, clearly a definite change here for the MX-5. And another very important fact, only 975 kilograms of empty weight had this car here with a small engine, so 1.5 liter. Here we got the 2.0 liter engine, so that's about 40 kilograms heavier, but still about 1 ton just for this car, and that is of course one very important factor for having a lot of fun. Less weight, more power, that gives us a sporty boost. So that's even 200 kilograms less than the predecessor, really a lot of weight savings here. But one thing remained the same, there's also this classic roof available, the soft top, which can just be closed and opened manually. So you know, the predecessor also had this hard top option. We don't have that one here, and well, it was also actually not that famous, and I can show you why, because this soft top system is really very good. See, there's actually a release in the middle. It comes up, and theoretically you can also do that while driving. And that's just about it, and it's really a very easy system, and also from the inside, I can show you later also in detail again, it's also just so fast. Just release it here, put it to the back, fix it, and that's it. So we don't have to count seconds like, oh, how many seconds does the electric system take? This is really a very easy solution, and also there can't be any electric motor breaking down or something like that. So I think I really favor this easy solution here. And that's the way how it looks closed. What's your opinion on that one? How you think there's a difference, open or top? What do you like more? I think now in the new generation they got it quite right, that they got a smoother transition here at the rear part. So about the engines, let's check out where we can open the hood. It's always a little bit complicated, there it is. So, no hydraulic dampers whatsoever. This is here the 2-liter engine, and you know, I've mentioned it before with Mazda, they are on the path still with a naturally aspirated engine. I really like it. Also quite a beautiful engine design. There's a 1.5 liter engine available with 131 horsepower, and this 2.0 liter engine with 163 horsepower. We've taken the more powerful one. It has an advantage of 1 second from 0 to 100 kilometers, so 1 second difference here, the advantage for the bigger engine. And the consumption is actually quite okay. So far we had about 7 liters, maybe even a little bit less, and that's of course because the car is really light. And still this naturally aspirated engine technology I think is really good, because where there's no turbo, there can't be any turbo broken. So to give you the base price in Germany for the all-new Mazda MX-5, it's 23,000 euros, and as it stands here right now, with the bigger engine and also the sports line, the top trim level, you will end up about 28,000 euros. And well, there aren't any convertibles left in the non-premium segment, so this is really less money for more fun. We can already say that right now. Sportsline is about 4,500 euros extra, and the trim level, well, the trim level set is kind of prime center exclusive sports. That's the order, and here the top version, and most about is on the interior. Of course you got the bigger alloys, but soon we'll show you the details on the interior. So let's get inside, because on the interior is actually even more being done to have difference from the previous version. What I really like here in the sports line, look at that one, it really looks like the car from the outside on the inside with this red color. It's so beautiful done in this case. I really love those details. Also, you see the levers here, pretty much feeling high class, and you've seen it also here. There's Fox leather on the inside of the doors. Unfortunately, we have the real leather seats here with animal skin. This comes with the sports line. You have to go with the lower trim levels to get the fabric seats then. And there's also an additional super sport package available. Then you get even more upgraded seats here. And you already see the steering wheel is very slim. Reminds me a little bit of Audi sports steering wheels. I really love that, and that promises already some go-kart feeling. I'll tell you more about it later. Let me get inside now. You see the car is really sporty, sitting low, and the seating position has even been lowered to make it easier for tall persons to be inside here. Now I'm opening the top again that you can better see the interior. Again, it's very easy to do that. And well, you know, I'm 1 meters 86 and I can sit here, and you see I had this kind of space above my head when the roof was closed. It is actually okay, it's better than a previous version, but still it won't ever be a car for tall people, I can say so far. And you see it with my knees here, well, they do fit here, but maybe if my knees would be a little bit bigger or just longer somewhere, that would really cause a lot of problems. So it won't be my special body car, let's say that way, but it has been actually better than before now. But what you see with the interior, there has really a lot been done. Also see, this is even not artificial leather, but just with its contrast stitches here, you see it's just high class looking. Also this with the glossy stuff and the air vents around in the cockpit style. This really looks all quite fancy, and this is one of the things that Mazda has been working on the best. Also, when you see the instruments, they are quite classic and clear. I can also turn on the ignition, then maybe we can see how it's enlightened. And I'm really actually keen on the new Mazda interiors. Also, when you look at the middle parts here, you see also when you just control the temperature or the air vent strength, this is feeling all better now. Before that, it was often quite loose or just feel cheap, and this one is really good now. So that also is a very important feeling here in the car. Very special is the shifting lever, and when you're standing still, it feels a little bit more of resistance, but when the cars turn on, it kind of dissolves a little bit. It looks very sporty. You see very short shifting ways. You really get this already here. Just hear it. That is really some kind of sporty shifting. If you more prefer this shifting without any resistance, well, this is not really for you. But if you want this very core heart of sport style, then it's really something for you. And still a classic handbrake, maybe used for racing also when you want to block the rear wheels. But I always prefer it when you have it just as an emergency precaution. Then also in the sports line, we got the GPS with the new multimedia system. It is inspired by the Mazda 2 or Mazda 3. And you see, well, there is actually the control possible with the central knob. That's one way, and then just press it or go to the home button. But then there's also another possibility. If we go to the screen again, you can also use it as a touch screen. That is also possible, for example, for the co-driver, and that's actually quite good then. Let me just show you the GPS again. That, for example, zoom out. You see, it could react a little bit faster. You see where we are. We're close to Sitges here. You can also use the control lever then to zoom in the map. So they have really worked on that. I think, for example, the GPS system from the Volkswagen Corporation, they are still better here. But I think from what we've seen before, this one has also really improved. And I can tell you, you get along with it. But I think most of the people will just pick an extra GPS for like 200 euros or something like that to attach it on it, because a lot of people will still buy the MX-5 Roadster like a standard car, let's take it that way, with a low trim level, because then it's still also very cheap. Some more details to the interior. 2 USB slots in here, at least one USB slot you got from the serial production. Then above there, heated seats. Clearly don't need them right now with 30 degrees in the shadow. We don't have a standard glove box here, but we do have this one in the middle console, very small, maybe for your phone if it's small enough. And we have 2 cup holders here, and they're actually quite practical, also keeps the beverages tight. And more little storage space, even you can close it once, so you leave the car with an open top. There you can put something in there. And there's also another hidden space behind the seat, because you can not only turn the seat up here and down again, there's also this another lever which can put the seat to the front, and then there's another hidden space in here. It's actually not too much space, you see my hand fits in here, but at least, well, if you don't have too much storage space, then everything helps. So that's the key. There you can open the trunk, or the other possibility is below here. Then it opens and you see there isn't really much space. But if you arrange your trolleys and bags, something does fit in there, because it's actually quite steep in here. But you have to be realistic. There isn't really so much space. But at least if you have the soft top here, you don't waste any space because a hard top has been hidden. So let's start our joyride here. The 2-liter engine. I'm really looking forward to it. Pen's a little bit lower. And I already feel the car has a really hard and dynamic shifting, manual shifting. So, the GPS. Let's go. Well, the sound is already quite nice, I think. Of course, you don't have this really very low frequent sound from a V6 or whatever, but I mean, for such a small car, that's really perfectly fine. So I'm also following the GPS at the same time. Now in the 3rd gear, already feel this very small steering wheel is very great, feels very dynamic, very sporty. Oh, the brakes do need some power, I feel that. They don't come too early. I really like the funny shifting process here. It's a really great sun car. You see, the sun is shining a lot today. And it's definitely a convertible for the summertime, because you see and feel there's already a lot of wind coming in here, although we have the windows up, so really a car for the hot summer. It's not comparable with those compact class convertible which you can really shut down from every side and then hardly any wind is coming through. Also the wind cut behind us is just very small one, for example. However, we do drive 70 kilometers an hour right now here, and you see just from a height that's really okay, so that has improved because we sit already lower. And what is quite remarkable that with this 2-liter naturally aspirated engine, it's also okay for the motorway. So even if I'm, let's say, in the 4th gear and need to accelerate a little bit on the motorway, it still does a quite good job. So on the motorway, I think you feel the difference between the bigger and the smaller engine. If you're on the countryside roads or maybe in the city, there won't be such a big difference then, because the car is already so light. And now getting on the motorway again, it's really a lot of fun just shifting and feeling the G-forces in this car. It really feels like a go-kart, and well, you tend to say that about some other small cars, also some small cars that have small steering wheels, but here, well, I think it is the car in the automotive market right now where it's the most go-kart feeling, definitely. Now we're at the throttle. Yeah, well, that's maybe not the main discipline here for the Mazda MX-5, accelerating on the motorway. There you feel that the turbo maybe is missing to give the last boost, but I think as it's not primarily a motorway car, you can neglect this fact actually, because it's more about having fun in the city and on country roads, driving some sporty stuff there. However, well, I feel actually quite comfortable here now with 100 kilometers on the motorway as well. So if we have some transition etape maybe between those rides, that's also perfectly fine then. However, just remember, you maybe shouldn't do that in winter times, because then you really get blown away. And Now with the 2-liter engine, maybe just some elasticity test. Let's say if I go from 100 to 120 in the 4th gear. Now, let's start now. Was also going a little bit downwards here now, but I think it's still okay for that kind of engine. Then you shouldn't expect more of that one. And more driving impressions, I think this will be very interesting when we get to the very curvy roads, because then it is the terrain of the Mazda MX-5. Now, curvy mountain roads, that's what the MX-5 is built for. And here we can see all the advantages. And we feel there isn't really much weight, so we are not pushed far out in the corner. Really feeling this 50-50 weight balance, that's absolutely great. Also the sound, I think, is quite nice, especially when shifting down. Gas and from the throttle. It's actually very nice. So what do you think? Also when I'm testing the steering now, well, it could be a little bit more direct, I would say. A little bit of some progressive steering, that could have been optimized. But still, I mean, it's very great to drive. So much fun here. And actually, as I said before, not for so much money. And here it's also good that you have this very short wheelbase. Really incredible what speed we, for example, on 80 kilometers an hour, the speed now. Shifting down. Really so much fun to drive. And the car's relatively calm, I must say, and the suspension is also not that stiff. So even if there are some bumps on the road, absolutely no problem. So it is still a car where you can good use it for cruising, for example. I think this one has really improved. Of course, there will be some people who maybe get an even stiffer suspension. By the way, the Executive and Sports line have also differential lock. That also helps, especially in the corners when accelerating out. But I mean, here you also see the difference between the front-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive, because no matter how hard we press the throttle here in dry conditions, we don't have any wheel spin so far because we have the rear-wheel drive, and then you really have to push the car to have the spin right there. I could drive here for hours, especially with the open top. Such a light car. Also just the shifting, this hard sporty shifting is also a lot of fun. Just to enjoy here. Okay, let's push a little bit more to the limit. By the way, what very nice detail, if you look to the front, it reminds me a little bit of a Porsche, because you have these bulbs in front of you. That's also a quite nice view just when looking at the front. To the side, above the headlights, comes in the play. Shifting down again. That's really very nice. Here comes a very interesting corner. See how far we push to the side. Again. There are hardly any cars that are lighter than this one. This is really a good advantage. Even if you compare it to more expensive cars, they are most often way heavier. So this is really a racing car for everyone. let me conclude about the Mazda MX-5 here in the 4th generation. Clearly, you can't have a better ratio of money and fun, because this one is one of the rare convertibles left where you don't have to pay so much money to be in the premium segment, but still already got this very great go-kart feeling. A very short car, not exactly a car for tall people, but it has been improved a little bit at least. The new interior quality is really very good. I really like that. As from the exterior, well, it is really questionable where this way has been gone. It's not the iconic round Mazda MX-5 design anymore. We really have to get used to that. But besides that, the driving experience was really a pleasure. So much fun to drive this car, and well, there are hardly any other car that is in this price segment that can really match that. So it's really a standalone car now, and this will actually ensure the success further on. So I think this one will boost the sales. And well, but about the engines, 2-liter engine was really great to drive here. Will it make such a difference to the 1.5-liter engine? I'm not so sure about that, because the car is really very light, and so both engines will actually do fine. And we're very glad that they stayed here with the naturally aspirated engines, because they have quite a low consumption and, well, they're set also to be quite durable. So I really want to hear your opinion on the car here, what you think about exterior, interior, and also what I told you about driving. I think this go-kart feeling is so much fun, really, and you really feel you're sitting on the road directly. Yeah, I think that's about it. I hope you also see you at the next Autogefühl episode with what brand whatsoever, and also tell us in the comments which car you would like to see next. Quite often we can fulfill your wishes. See you next time.